When I arrived at the hospital to bring home my wife and newborn twins, I was met with heartbreak. Suzie was gone, leaving only a cryptic note. As I juggled caring for the babies and unraveling the truth, I discovered the dark secrets that tore my family apart. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more inspiring stories. As I drove to the hospital, the balloons bobbed beside me in the passenger seat. My smile was unstoppable. Today, I was bringing home my girls. I couldn't wait to see Suzie's face light up when she saw the nursery, the dinner I'd cooked, the photos I'd framed for the mantel. She deserved joy after 9 long months of back pain, morning sickness, and an endless carousel of my overbearing mother's opinions. It was the culmination of every dream I'd had for us. I waved to the nurses at the station as I hurried to Suzie's room. But when I pushed through the door, I froze in surprise. My daughters were sleeping in their bassinets, but Suzie was gone. I thought she might have stepped out for fresh air. But then I saw the note. I tore it open, my hands trembling. Goodbye. Take care of them. Ask your mother why she did this to me. The world blurred as I reread it. And reread it. The words didn't shift, didn't morph into something less terrible. A coldness prickled along my skin, freezing me in place. What the hell did she mean? Why would she know? This couldn't be happening. Suzie was happy. She'd been happy, hadn't she? A nurse carrying a clipboard entered the room. Good morning, sir. Here's the discharge. Where's my wife? I interrupted. The nurse hesitated, biting her lip. She checked out this morning. She said you knew. Where did she go? I stammered to the nurse, waving the note. Did she say anything else? Was she upset? The nurse frowned. She seemed fine, just quiet. Are you saying you didn't know? I shook my head. She said nothing, just left me this note. I left the hospital in a daze, cradling my daughters. The note crumpled in my fist. Suzie was gone. My wife, my partner, the woman I'd thought I knew, had vanished without a word of warning. All I had were 2 tiny girls, my shattered plans, and that ominous message. When I pulled into the driveway, my mom, Mandy, was waiting on the porch, beaming and holding a casserole dish. The scent of cheesy potatoes wafted toward me, but it did nothing to soothe the storm brewing inside. Oh, let me see my grandbabies, she exclaimed, setting the dish aside and rushing toward me. They're beautiful, Ben, absolutely beautiful. I stepped back, holding the car seat protectively. Not yet, Mom. Her face faltered, confusion knitting her brow. What's wrong? I shoved the note in her direction. This is what's wrong. What did you do to Suzie? Her smile vanished, and she took the note with shaking fingers. Her pale blue eyes scanned the words, and for a moment, she looked like she might faint. Ben, I don't know what this is about, Mom replied. She's always been emotional. Maybe she... Don't lie to me. The words erupted, my voice echoing off the porch walls. You've never liked her. You've always found ways to undermine her, criticize her. I've only ever tried to help. Her voice broke, tears spilling over her cheeks. I turned away, my gut churning. I couldn't trust her words anymore. Whatever had happened between them had driven Suzie to leave. And now I was left to pick up the pieces. That night, after settling Callie and Jessica in their cribs, I sat at the kitchen table with a note in one hand and a whiskey in the other. My mother's protests rang in my ears, but I couldn't let them drown out the question looping in my mind. What did you do, Mom? I thought back to our family gatherings and the small barbs my mother would throw Suzie's way. Suzie had laughed them off, but I could see now, too late, how they must have cut her. I started digging, both literally and metaphorically. My sorrow and longing for my missing wife deepened as I looked through her things. I found her jewelry box in the closet and set it aside, then noticed a slip of paper peeking out beneath the lid. When I opened it, I found a letter to Suzie in my mother's handwriting. My heart pounded as I read, "Suzie, you'll never be good enough for my son. You've trapped him with this pregnancy, but don't think for a second you can fool me. If you care about them, you'll leave before you ruin their lives." My hand shook as I dropped the letter. This was it. This was why she'd left. My mother had been tearing her down behind my back. I replayed every interaction, every moment I'd dismissed as harmless. How blind had I been? It was almost midnight, but I didn't care. I went to the guest room and banged on the door until Mom opened it. "How could you?" I waved the letter in her face. "All this time, I thought you were just being overbearing. But no, you've been bullying Suzie for years, haven't you?" Her face paled as she scanned the letter. "Ben, listen to me." "No." I cut her off. "You listen to me. Suzie left because of you. Because you made her feel worthless. And now she's gone. And I'm here trying to raise 2 babies on my own. I only wanted to protect you," she whispered. "She wasn't good enough. She's the mother of my children. You don't get to decide who's good enough for me or them. You're done here, Mom. Pack your things. Get out." Her tears fell freely now. "You don't mean that." "I do," I said, cold as steel. She opened her mouth to argue, but stopped. The look in my eyes must have told her I wasn't bluffing. She left an hour later, her car disappearing down the street. The next weeks were hell. Between sleepless nights, dirty diapers, and endless crying. Sometimes the babies, sometimes me. I barely had time to think. But every quiet moment brought Suzie back to my mind. I contacted her friends and family, hoping for any hint of where she might be. None of them had heard from her. But one, her college friend Sarah, hesitated before speaking. She talked about feeling trapped, Sarah admitted over the phone. "Not by you, Ben, but by everything. The pregnancy, your mom. She told me once that Mandy said the twins would be better off without her." The knife twisted deeper. Why didn't she tell me my mom was saying these things to her? She was scared, Ben. She thought Mandy might turn you against her. I told her to talk to you, but Sarah's voice cracked. "I'm sorry. I should have pushed harder. Do you think she's okay?" "I hope so," Sarah said quietly. "Suzie's stronger than she thinks. But Ben, keep looking for her." Weeks turned into months. One afternoon, while Callie and Jessica napped, my phone buzzed. It was a text from an unlisted number. When I opened it, my breath caught. It was a photo of Suzie, holding the twins at the hospital, her face pale but serene. Beneath it was a message. "I wish I was the type of mother they deserve. I hope you forgive me." I called the number immediately, but it didn't go through. I texted back, but my messages didn't go through either. It was like shouting into a void. But the photo reignited my determination. Suzie was out there. She was alive, and at least a part of her still longed for us, even though she was clearly still in a bad place. I'd never give up on her. A year passed with no leads or clues to Suzie's whereabouts. The twins' first birthday was bittersweet. I'd poured everything into raising them, but the ache for Suzie never left. That evening, as the girls played in the living room, there was a knock at the door. I thought I was dreaming at first. Suzie stood there, clutching a small gift bag, her eyes brimming with tears. She looked healthier, her cheeks were fuller, and her posture was more confident. But the sadness was still there, hovering behind her smile. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't think." I pulled her into my arms, holding her as tightly as I dared. She sobbed into my shoulder, and for the first time in a year, I felt whole. Over the following weeks, Suzie told me how the postpartum depression, my mom's cruel words, and her feelings of inadequacy had overwhelmed her. She'd left to protect the twins and to escape the spiral of self-loathing and despair. Therapy had helped her rebuild, one painstaking step at a time. "I didn't want to leave," she said one night, sitting on the nursery floor as the girls slept. "But I didn't know how to stay." I took her hand. "We'll figure it out. Together." And we did. It wasn't easy. Healing never is. But love, resilience, and the shared joy of watching Callie and Jessica grow were enough to rebuild what we'd almost lost.